Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. I was going to make a video yesterday. I actually was making the video yesterday, and then the thing died. The camera died, and yeah, I wasn't able to make the damn video. So I stuck with it. Make the video. So I ended up just recording a voice recording, and then I think the phone died again. So that was just Allah telling me that just think about what you're going to say. But I don't want to talk really too much about the subject, because I think the more words that you use, the more you kind of scatter yourself. But there's a hadith that's really been sticking to my mind recently, and the hadith goes, whoever focuses on Allah and His Messenger, or on Allah and the hereafter, Allah gathers His affairs. And whoever focuses on this dunya, or focuses on this world, Allah scatters His affairs, and he will still only get what is decreed for him. That's not the complete hadith. I think the first part of the hadith is whoever focuses on Allah and the hereafter, Allah gathers his affairs and the dunya comes after him, though he doesn't want it. That's a really explicit caveat right there. And this is seen also in the law of attraction, where you see a lot of these new age, pagan, modern, it's new age. It's not rubbish. It is true. It is a real spiritual law. You see it in other spiritual texts. The whole idea of don't be attached and be detached, and things come to you, and the backwards law. When you least chase something, or when you don't chase something, it comes to you, and it's all the same spiritual law. And I think Islam encapsulates the law in its entirety. It's that when you focus on anything other than the ibadah of Allah, which is the surrendered heart, which is the heart that is given to Allah, and there is only the preoccupation of worship and love and doing that which is pleasing to Allah. That's the definition of ibadah. It's an inward state. The salah is a external manifestation of an internal action. If the heart itself is not submitting, if the ego is not submitting, if the sujood isn't real, in the sense of you're really submitting yourself to the law of reality, you're really submitting yourself, ego, your thoughts, your emotions, everything, you're submitting to the will of Allah, then your salah is kind of like just going through the motions. And the whole point of the salah is it's a container. It's like a system that is designed to replicate the submission and the surrender. And that's what Islam is, because it literally just means surrender. So if you think about the modern law of attraction, big mantras that go around where people talk about, oh, you've got to surrender, you've got to do this, you've got to think about what you want and then surrender. It's like it's in Islam. It's just that these are I shouldn't say the word, but they are half-truth versions. I mean, that's what Iblis does, though, doesn't he? He comes in a half-baked truth. He kind of like comes in a way that is kind of the truth, but it's also kind of not the truth. It's always, you get the goodie but without Allah, you get the goodie but without belief, you get the goodie without truly understanding who you're surrendering to. They always talk about surrender. You've got to surrender to the universe. What is the universe? The universe, surrender. Whatever you believe in, surrender into it. Astaghfirullah, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's God, it's Allah, the most merciful, the most truthful. No, not the most truthful, the most merciful. In fact, that's the beautiful thing about the Surah Al-Fatiha, is Allah refers to himself as Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He doesn't refer himself to Al-Adil, he doesn't refer to himself as Al-Qadir, he doesn't refer to himself as Al-Mutaqawwil. He refers to himself as Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most generous, the most merciful. That's what he refers to himself as, and that's one of the only verses where Allah is talking about himself, and it's an actual surah. It's the first surah. It's called the opening, the Al-Fatiha. That's profound. That's profound. That is, if you deep that, if you do a mini tafsir on yourself, it's a beautiful. And of course, I'm exceptionally ignorant because I'm doing this here, and these are things that I have read. It's not just I'm coming up with it myself. Astaghfirullah, that's the biggest way to fall into jahiliyyah, ignorance. But these are things that other people have said. And it's also intuition, it's also my fitrah, it's also the truth, al-haq inside of my own heart, which is like, wow, That's deep, man. Allah refers to himself as Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He refers to himself as the most generous, the most merciful. To all creation, by the way. To all creation, he sends rain upon the disbeliever and the believer alike. So it clears up a lot of things. It clears up a lot of doubts that you may have about your deen, if you will. Oh, why do bad people get away with things? It's like, well, Allah is Al-Adil, but He's also the most Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. He's the most merciful. So maybe He's saying in that verse that, I am the most merciful first off. And these other attributes, of course, they come, like my wrath, His wrath is inevitable. And of course, that's what the last day is all about. Yawm al-Qiyamah. But yeah, anyway, what am I really saying? Too easily we fall into shirk. And shirk isn't just worshipping idols. Well, it is, but you need to know what an idol is, and you need to know what worship is. Because people have an idea of what worship is and what idols are. An idol is anything in your heart that you think is going to complete you. That's it. Like, it's the thing that you think about. It's the thing that you love. It's the thing that you want to please. It's the thing that you want validation from. People have all kinds of idols in their hearts. Money, materialism, women, pleasure, power, status, rank, achievements, gadgets, martial arts. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. People have idols. And Allah has said in that hadith that whoever makes the dunya his concern, Allah will scatter his affairs. MashaAllah. Scatter his affairs, I can only think of one thing. That is a disorganized mind, overthinking, anxious, depressed, haste, like doing so much work, being busy all the time but never really getting anything done. Overthinking, so trying to control everything. I used to be this guy. MashaAllah. I say MashaAllah because I've come a long way, alhamdulillah, with Allah's grace and mercy. I've still got a long way to go, of course, because I've still got my jahiliyyah, which is so innate inside of me. Every day, really, alhamdulillah, I learn something new. Allah reveals a new fault of mine. But it's quite beautiful to see that, mashallah, the deen encompasses everything. Everything is encompassed in the deen. And I think the more you study the Sahaba, the more you study the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the more you study the saints as well, the awliya, I don't know, some Wahhabis and... Look, I don't really know, to be honest. I need to do more research, but, the Wahhabis and Salafis, they've got their own idea and their own opinion, and that's great. There's schools of thought for a reason. If everyone thought the same way, it'd be a very boring world. Even within Islam, like, you can have different schools of thought, as long as you all submit, of course, to the general principle and the general idea that Allah is one. Surat al-Ikhlas and the Quran and the Sunnah. There's really not much more you can go wrong with, other than just this, this rigidity, and then there's more laxity, and there's this and that. Anyway, look, I'm not an ulama, I'm not a scholar, so I can't really make an opinion on this, and I'm really just a layman talking about these things, and just an interested enthusiast in Islam, because it's saved me, and completely, alhamdulillah, it's dealt with all my problems in every kind of fashion, and I've never felt more close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mashallah, than with Islam. I still worshipped Allah before I was a proper Muslim. I was like a pseudo-Christian, and I was a pseudo-Buddhist, and a pseudo-law of attraction believer. Of course, it was still Allah that I was really believing in, but I didn't really understand what it was that I was worshipping. Islam's really clarified it. So mashallah, I'm really happy about that. But anyway, Allah scatters the affairs of he who makes the dunya his concern. So of course, I've been there as a youngster. I made women a source of concern. I made, astaghfirullah, right? But I did, like, I worshipped chasing women. I did that as a youth. I still am pretty much a youth. I'm 28, but when I was younger, I tried to chase a lot of women, and of course, when you chase, they run away. But you live and you learn. You live and you learn. I tried to chase power in the form of fighting. Alhamdulillah, like that destroyed me. That destroyed me, man, physically and mentally. Like, just every time I would do it, I would feel less powerful because I just give my impulses and control to other people. I did it through martial arts. It's not like I got into fights in the street. I'm not too stupid, but I still was like seeking fights in the gym, and that's still a bit evil. And boxing was an evil path. When I was doing boxing, it was quite evil because I was just looking for scraps. But then again, I think you've got a few scraps in you that you've got to get out of your system before you kind of put the gloves down and say you want to do something else. So, mashallah, we all have experiences. I'm a lot more into grappling these days, and it's a lot more attractive to me. It's a lot more sunnah based. It's a lot more based on the Prophet, and it's based on competence as well. Like, you can't just scrap your way in a grappling match. You actually have to think. You have to use leverage. You can't just brute force your way. You can't just use strength either. You've actually got to think. You've got to be competent. You've got to use leverage. You've got to use angles. You've got to use frames. And I love it. I love the progress of grappling in my time, and the other one, boxing, is it's a little bit for me. But anyway, message is really, don't focus on the dunya, man. Like, the dunya will take care of itself when you're worshipping and focusing on Allah and His Sunnah and the hereafter, right? It's the same idea of being in the present moment and being in the now and being in a state of gratitude sorts out your life, and all things come to you when you're vibrating at the same frequency. MashaAllah, when you're worshipping Allah, your frequency level just skyrockets. When you're in ibadah and in a state of taqwa, your vibration just shoots up to the roof. You will never secure such a high vibration of love, of peace, of joy, of gratitude. You will never secure that from doing anything other than the ibadah of Allah. Allah will give you everything then, right? Because He says that. He says, I'll give you everything, and you won't even want it. Because when you're worshipping Allah, you will feel the sukoon, the sakina. You will feel such love. You will feel such peace. You will feel such joy. You won't even want any dunya thing. A dunya thing is like, I can have it. I don't really need it. I don't really care. I know what I want. Reading the Quran, reading the Sunnah, studying the Hadiths, right? Learning Arabic, learning the Quran, reading the Quran, memorizing the Quran, doing the Salah, doing the Sunnah Salahs, doing Hajj, doing Umrah, doing Zakat, being kind to people, being merciful, watching your nafs, muraqabah, right? Self-watching, being mindful. These things become pleasurable. Maintaining rights over the kins, doing what is right to your kin, doing right to other people, responsibilities, striving in the cause of Allah. Like, these things become pleasurable. These things are the things that give you joy in life. They give you peace in life. That's true wealth. MashaAllah, people who are on this path, they know that is true wealth. That is where the joy of life comes from. That's where the pleasure comes from. That's where the happiness comes from. That's where the purpose comes from worshipping and making the hereafter your concern. It doesn't come from striving after dunya and overthinking and planning and, what am I going to do for 5 years? What am I going to make money? That is a lack of ibadah to Allah. That is shirk. That's shirk, because you're worshipping an idol. You're worshipping money. You think it's going to save you. Or you're worshipping a wife. When am I going to get married? When the marriage sites, the proposals. You're worshipping women. You think a woman is going to save you. Your desires are also ruling over you in that respect. Any time you act out of a desire that is self-motivated, that's a form of shirk. I know that's so extremely harsh. Like, if I have a Coke, is that shirk? MashaAllah, it could be. But also, do you eat it or drink it with the attachment? If you eat or drink without the attachment, where you still remember Allah, you still remember that, hey, you know what, at the end of the day, Allah is the one that matters, and Allah is the one that I have to be accountable for, and that's the taqwa. He's always watching the ihsan. So if you eat with ihsan, you can eat. If you marry with ihsan, you can marry. If you can marry with, or if you can work with ihsan, you can work. But if you turn these things into ends in and of themselves, that's where the problem comes. That's where you will find yourself becoming scattered. So, alhamdulillah, please enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you, Jazakallah khair, for watching the video. MashaAllah.